The lights were dim, but not flattering. No haze, no warmth. Just dull overheads that made everything look a little more tired than it should. Plastic cups, wet leather couches, neon burn across low ceilings, music somewhere between loops. The kind of silence that still has a beat. Jimin sat too still for someone in that room. He wasn't trying to be hidden, but he wasn't present either. Not exactly. Neither were the others. Not Jungkook leaning forward, elbows on his knees. Not Taehyung with one hand to his face like a visor. They looked like they had been waiting for a while. Like the room hadn't started yet. The girls on the other side hadn't realized. Or had. But decided not to care. One laughed too loudly, which made another whisper too sharply. It created an imbalance. The kind that spreads. Someone from the staff passed by and did a double take too fast to hide it. Didn't say anything. Kept walking. That's when the man appeared. Guest, local maybe, maybe not. Early 40s, tight shirt, cheap cologne that hit the air before he did. No hesitation. He wasn't loud. He wasn't rude. Just didn't blink when he walked up, stood at the edge of their low booth, and said bluntly, "Why the hell are you here?" He didn't say it with recognition. Not fan recognition. Not name calling. Just you. You. As in, you. From the world that doesn't touch this place. Jimin didn't move. Jungkook turned his head, slow. Taehyung's hand lowered from his face, but not all the way. The man didn't smile. He didn't make a scene. He didn't leave. The music came back, just a little too late. A bass line that had nothing to do with the question, and didn't answer it. No one spoke. Yet the room had already started watching. Someone giggled across the lounge, not because anything was funny, but because silence needed to be broken. It didn't help. It made it worse, like laughing at the wrong funeral. The man shifted his weight slightly, just enough to suggest that he hadn't lost interest. His eyes moved, not in awe, not in fandom, but in calculation. Face to face with Jimin now. Not inches away, but close enough that it no longer looked like conversation. It looked like confrontation. "Seriously," he said, tone lower now. "Is this some kind of joke?" He glanced toward the others, as if expecting confirmation, as if expecting cameras. None came. No one explained. A girl in heels walked by behind him. She slowed when she caught the faces in the booth. Her steps stuttered. She didn't stop, but her friend behind her did. Just for a second. The kind of second where a phone should have come up, but didn't. Not yet. Jungkook leaned back, too fast. The booth creaked. Taehyung blinked in a way that didn't look like blinking. Still no one spoke. The man's tone didn't rise. That was the problem. He didn't give them anything to deflect off of. No aggression. Just disbelief. Just the rawness of a civilian walking into the wrong kind of hallucination. "I mean," he started, half laughing now. "You're actually sitting here, like it's just normal." He gestured with one open hand to the room, not pointing, just sweeping. Low light caught the gloss on the floor, not from polish, but from something spilled, something sticky. The couch beneath Jimin's hand was torn at the edge, stuffing peeking out like a wound. Jimin blinked, finally, and the man saw it. Locked eyes again. That's when the second mistake happened. A woman, closer to the bar, whispered too loudly, "Is that?" She didn't finish, but another voice answered, high-pitched and cracked. "No fucking way." And someone's phone did come up, not steady, not aimed, just up. Instinctively. Reflex, like a weapon. The room didn't break yet, but it tilted. People started shifting. Not everyone had seen, but those who had were trying not to show they had. Another booth, 2 rows down, had already gone still. The bartender paused in the middle of pouring. Music kept playing. The man stepped back. Only a little, as if realizing that he was no longer the one asking the questions, but the question still hung. "Why the hell are you here?" And now it had witnesses. The phone didn't flash. That was worse. The girl holding it didn't raise it properly either. She kept it low, angled wrong, like she was ashamed of her own hands. Her thumb hovered, stopped, hovered again. She glanced around first, checking if anyone else had noticed that she had noticed. Someone else already had. A guy near the bar leaned sideways, too obvious, pretending to talk while staring past his drink. He squinted, shook his head once, then leaned back in again, closer this time. His mouth moved without sound. No, no way. The man who had asked the question finally looked uncomfortable. Not scared, not apologetic. just aware that he had walked into something that no longer belonged to him. He cleared his throat, a dry sound that cut straight through the bass. "You guys filming something?" he asked. Too late. The wrong guess. A dancer stopped mid-step when she caught the shape of Jimin's face under the lights. Her expression didn't change into recognition. It froze. She adjusted her top out of habit, then realized how stupid that was, then looked away entirely. Like you look away from a car crash you're already too close to. A whisper ran sideways through the lounge. Not a wave. More like static. Phones appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Someone laughed sharply, once, then covered their mouth like they'd been slapped. Jungkook shifted again. Someone behind him muttered his name, unsure if it was a guess or a test. The syllables landed wrong, heavy, sticky. "No," another voice said. "That's not. It can't be." But no one corrected her. The staff noticed now. One of them paused at the edge of the room, eyes darting between the booth and the growing cluster of people who were suddenly very interested in not looking interested. He touched his earpiece. Didn't speak. The man took another step back. This time it wasn't subtle. His confidence drained all at once, like he'd pulled the wrong thread. He raised both hands slightly. Not surrender. Not apology. More like, "This isn't mine anymore. I didn't mean—" he started, then stopped himself. Because the room had shifted again. Not toward them, around them. People weren't staring openly yet. They were watching reflections, mirrors. Phone screens turned black, but still held tight in palms. Everyone was trying to memorize without being seen memorizing. Jimin stood out now. Not because he moved, because everyone else did. And the realization crept in, slow and ugly. This wasn't a mistake anymore. This was a situation. The music glitched for half a second, a skip beat, barely noticeable. And in that gap, someone said it out loud. "Oh my God! Oh my God, it is him!" Too loud, too clear, and impossible to take back. A laugh somewhere, not joy, but panic. Someone dropped a drink, not a dramatic smash, just a dull plastic bounce, followed by the wet slap of liquor spreading across the floor. That was when one of the girls near the mirror stopped pretending. She turned fully toward the booth, blinked, then covered her mouth like the recognition physically hurt. Her friend reached for her arm, but too late. She was already stepping forward. "Jimin," she said. Not loud, but not quiet enough. He didn't answer, he didn't look up, but he was looking now, not at her, at the reflection behind her. The cluster of people trying not to react, already reacting. The bartender dropped low under the counter, not to hide, but to grab something. Probably not what people thought, but that didn't matter, because now eyes were everywhere, every angle, every booth. No one was filming properly, but everyone was filming mentally, and someone was going to break. A guy near the entrance stood too fast and said, "That's not them," shouted too loudly. No one had accused, but the words felt like smoke. Instinct to yell fire even when no one had. Jungkook rose first. Not dramatic, just enough to shift the gravity in the room. Taehyung followed. Jimin didn't move. The man who had started it all was gone, vanished somewhere between guilt and exit signs. But his echo stayed. In the shape of a question no one had answered. The woman who said Jimin's name didn't move forward again. She looked like she wanted to apologize, or scream, or run, and couldn't pick. Her phone was still in her hand, but now it was turned screen in, as if that mattered. Behind her, someone whispered, "What are they doing here?" And someone else said, "Do they know where they are?" And then, "Don't film. Just don't." But a screen lit up anyway. Jimin stood. Not to speak, not to leave, just to stand. It was enough. The noise didn't swell. It stumbled. Chair scraped. A woman gasped too loudly and then laughed to cover it. Another tried to wave someone off, but her hand trembled and the gesture collapsed halfway. And then, someone finally said the word no one wanted to say. BTS. Not a shout, a confirmation. And the moment it was spoken, everything that followed belonged to no one. Not a single flash went off. But the room burned with phones now. Faces down, cameras barely visible. Screens angled just below the edge of tables, behind purses, cupped in hands, as if prayer would make them invisible. But nothing was invisible anymore. They weren't walking out fast. That was the worst part. Not running, not storming, just leaving. Deliberate, in sequence. Taehyung first, his face unreadable but too upright. Then Jungkook, jaw set, gaze low. Then Jimin. Last. Always last now. Someone laughed again. Sharp, nervous, a breath that twisted wrong inside the chest. A man at the bar turned away completely, muttering, "No, no, no," to no one. They passed the dancers. One of them lowered her gaze like she'd been caught doing something she hadn't even done. Another stepped back too far, bumped into a chair, apologized to the air. The girls from earlier were frozen in a cluster. One of them mouthed something, then closed her mouth again. Her friend whispered, "Don't say anything." She hadn't, but she would, later. A security guard stepped in too late, tried to part the path like it needed clearing. It didn't. The silence did it first. A man near the DJ booth had both hands on his head, not in awe, in disbelief. He kept looking between them and the exit, as if he could undo something by watching it correctly. No one filmed openly, but the story was already out. No footage could hold what the room had felt. The wrongness wasn't in the pixels. It was in the silence people would try to describe later and fail. It was them. In there. Just sitting. Just being there. But it wasn't right. Jimin paused at the edge of the exit, just for half a breath. His hand touched the wall, like for balance, or just to touch something not staring back. He didn't look around. Not once. And then, they were gone. But the room didn't come back. The music tried to return, louder now, as if to bury something. It failed. Voices overlapped, fast, stuttered, wrong. "They weren't dressed like... I didn't even realize until I was gonna take a picture, but... Was that really? Why there?" No answers, just echoes. Just the sound of something that wasn't supposed to happen, already happening. No one left first. No one wanted to be the first to stand. Because if you stood, you admitted you'd seen it. And no one wanted to admit it out loud. But no one would forget.